Have you ever faced a financial crisis? It's a question that may make you feel uncomfortable, but it's a reality many of us have had to confront. Unexpected financial emergencies are more common than we'd like to admit. The car breaks down, the roof leaks, a sudden illness. Life is full of surprises, and unfortunately, not all of them are pleasant. The stress these situations can cause is enormous. The worry, the uncertainty, the scrambling to find a solution, it's a burden no one should have to bear. But here's the thing, we can lighten this burden with a bit of foresight and planning. Financial planning isn't just about securing our future, it's also about preparing for the unforeseen. It's about having a safety net when life throws a curveball. And one of the best ways to prepare for such situations is by building an emergency fund. So, what exactly is an emergency fund? Well, imagine a safety net, but instead of catching trapeze artists, it catches you when you fall into unexpected financial troubles. That's what an emergency fund is. A stash of money set aside to cover the financial surprises life throws your way. These surprises can range from an unexpected medical bill, a sudden job loss, or a major car repair. The primary purpose of this fund isn't to fund a vacation or buy that latest gadget, but to offer a buffer against unforeseen financial hardships. By having this fund, you can cover these costs without needing to borrow money or sell your assets, which can often come with additional costs or losses. Think of it as your own personal financial bodyguard. It stands between you and the potential financial harm that unexpected expenses can bring. An emergency fund acts as a financial safety net, giving you peace of mind and financial stability. Why should you consider building an emergency fund? Well, think of it as your financial safety net. It provides you with the freedom to make choices and decisions without the stress of living paycheck to paycheck. This financial independence is one of the key benefits of having an emergency fund. Moreover, it's not just about independence, but also about peace of mind. Knowing you have a backup plan in case of unexpected expenses can significantly reduce stress. Unforeseen events like job loss, medical emergencies, or sudden home repairs can happen to anyone at any time. An emergency fund can help you navigate through these rough patches without resorting to high-interest loans or credit card debt. Prevention of debt accumulation is another major advantage. With money set aside, you're less likely to rely on debt to cover emergencies, protecting your future financial health from the burden of high-interest repayments. An emergency fund is a vital part of your financial health. Now, you might be wondering, how much money should you save in an emergency fund? Well, there's a rule of thumb that financial experts often recommend. Aim to save between 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. This includes things like your rent or mortgage, bills, groceries, basically anything you need to keep your life running smoothly. But remember, this is just a guideline. Your personal circumstances will dictate the exact amount you should stash away. For instance, if you have a stable job with a steady income, you might be comfortable with 3 months' worth of expenses. But if your income is variable, or if you're the sole provider for your family, you might want to play it safe and aim for that 6 months cushion. And let's not forget about unexpected events. Life has a way of throwing curveballs, doesn't it? An unforeseen medical expense or a sudden job loss could create financial turbulence. In such scenarios, having a larger emergency fund can provide an extra layer of security. Now, you might be thinking, 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, that's a lot. And yes, it can be a daunting figure, but don't let that deter you. Start small. Save what you can, when you can. With time and consistency, your fund will grow. Remember, it's better to start small than not at all. So how can you start building an emergency fund? Let's break it down into a few manageable steps. The first step is to determine your monthly savings goal. Consider your monthly expenses and aim to save enough to cover at least 3 to 6 months of these costs. This is not a one-size-fits-all rule, but it's a good starting point. The second step is to automate your savings. Most banks offer automated transfers between checking and savings accounts. Set it up so that a portion of your paycheck goes directly into your emergency fund. This out-of-sight, out-of-mind strategy can make saving less of a chore and more of a habit. The third step is to evaluate and trim your expenses. Maybe it's that daily coffee from the trendy cafe on your way to work, or the premium subscription for a service you barely use. By identifying these unnecessary expenses and cutting them out, you can channel more funds into your emergency savings. The fourth step is to find ways to increase your income. This could be through a side hustle, selling items you no longer need, or even negotiating a raise at work. The goal is to widen the gap between your income and expenditure, allowing you to save more. The fifth step is to keep your emergency fund separate from your regular checking account. This prevents the temptation to dip into it for non-emergencies. However, it should still be easily accessible in case of an emergency, so consider keeping it in a high-yield savings account. The sixth step is to review and adjust your plan as necessary. Life is full of changes and your financial situation is no exception. Regularly reviewing your emergency fund can help you adjust your savings goals and strategies based on your current financial status. The seventh and final step is to be patient and consistent. Building an emergency fund is not an overnight task. It requires discipline and patience. But remember, every penny counts. Even if you start small, the important thing is to start and keep going. In conclusion, building an emergency fund may seem like a daunting task, but with a plan and discipline, it's more than achievable. It's about taking control of your financial future and having the peace of mind knowing you're prepared for life's unexpected twists and turns. Consistency is key when building your emergency fund. Where should you keep your emergency fund? This question is crucial because the location of your rainy day fund plays a significant role in its effectiveness. It's important to keep it somewhere easily accessible, yet separate from your daily use accounts. This balance ensures that you can get to your money quickly in case of an emergency, but you're not tempted to dip into it for everyday expenses. One great option is a high-yield savings account. These accounts typically offer higher interest rates than regular savings accounts, which means your emergency fund can grow over time. Plus, they're usually separate from your main bank, making it less tempting to spend the money. Another option is a money market account. These accounts often come with check writing and debit card privileges, offering a balance of accessibility and growth. Remember, the goal is to have your money work for you, even in an emergency fund. Your emergency fund should be easy to reach when needed, but not too easy that you're tempted to use it for non-emergencies. Let's recap the key points we've discussed. We started by asking the inevitable question, what is an emergency fund? An emergency fund is essentially your financial safety net. It's that stash of money set aside to cover the financial surprises life throws your way. These unexpected events can be anything from a sudden job loss, a major home repair, or a serious illness. We then moved on to discuss the benefits of having an emergency fund. It provides you with a sense of financial security, reduces stress during tough times, and allows you to make better decisions without the pressure of immediate financial constraints. Essentially, it gives you peace of mind knowing that you have a backup plan. The question of how much to save is a common one, and the answer can vary depending on your personal circumstances. A general rule of thumb is to aim for 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. However, this can be adjusted based on your income stability and personal comfort level. Building an emergency fund might seem daunting at first, but we've discussed some practical steps to make it achievable. Start by setting a monthly savings goal, then make saving automatic by setting up direct transfers from your paycheck to your savings account. Every bit counts, even if it's just a small amount each month. Finally, we've touched on where to keep your emergency fund. It should be easily accessible, but not too accessible that you're tempted to dip into it for non-emergencies. High-yield savings accounts, money market accounts, or short-term certificates of deposit are all good options. Remember, an emergency fund isn't built overnight, but with consistency and discipline, you can create a solid financial safety net. Start today and secure your financial future.